The message for today, brothers and sisters, is entitled, "What Have We Done to Ourselves?" What have we done to ourselves? So many times we sit around talking about what other people did to us. We have blamed folk for us being in our predicament. The number one person that we have blamed, and we've talked so much about, spent an inordinate amount of time talking about them, and that is the white man. Yes, sir. The oppressor. Yes, what the powers that be did, what racism did to us, and all of this. And many people have actually fallen into a pit, if I can use that description, of excuses for not being productive in life because of what somebody else did to us. But today I don't want to talk about what they did to us. I want to talk about what have we done to ourselves. See, it's one thing for a person to knock you down. You can blame them for that. But you can't blame them for you staying down. Did y'all hear what I said? If you knock me down, that's your fault. If I stay down, that's my fault. And many people have been knocked down and they insist on staying down because they just don't have whatever it takes to get up. Before the African enslavement process, we Africans, we practiced our own indigenous spiritual systems. Now notice, I did not say we practiced religion. I didn't say we practiced denominationalism. I said we practiced our own indigenous spiritual systems. We were a holistic people before the African enslavement process. The non-spiritual Caucasoids, notice my description now. What did I just say? Non-spiritual Caucasoids. And y'all gonna see why I said that in a few moments. The Europeans, they came and destroyed our natural way of life. That was the knocking down process. You follow what I'm saying? They came and kidnapped us, deracinated us, erased from our own psyche the memory of ourselves. That was the knocking down process. They gave us a way of life that was unnatural to us. And they still continue to give that to us. We grow up with that. Foreign, alien concepts of a false deity. That was the knockdown process. There's a very clever device incorporated into these religions that are foreign to us as a people, and it literally stops us from reaching a point of spirituality and productivity and empowerment. To discourage us from ever doing the work of investigating. Follow what I'm saying? To discourage us from ever doing the work of investigating the device that has kept us down, we are told that we must have faith. Unquestioning belief in a so-called truthfulness of the religion that was handed to us. We're told that we must have faith because if we don't have faith, God is going to be displeased with us. That's what we're told. Maybe you've heard it this way. Without faith, it is impossible to please God. So what that means is you have to have faith in what's being said in order to be blessed by God, to be approved of by God. You have to have faith. Look at the person next to you and say, faith is belief in unverified thought. One more time. Faith is belief in unverified thought. What have we done to ourselves? We were given a system that is unrealistic. We were given a methodology that is anti-African, it's anti-spiritual, it's anti-historical. We were given this program, this methodology, and guess what, y'all? We digested it. We digested it without investigation. We exercise faith in what we cannot prove. Now, what's deep about it is, as a result of exercising faith in what we cannot verify, we have taken the attitude of not belief but knowledge. And when you ask us, how do you know this? We say, well, I just know it. I believe it to be true. Follow this statement very well, please. All Africa. Now, I'm not talking about the dirt. I'm not talking about the land. When I say all Africa, I mean the people of Africa. Not only the people on the motherland, but all Africa throughout the diaspora. All Africa has one religion and one God who has thousands of names. All Africa has one system of spirituality that's often described in hundreds of methodologies. But a people who do not understand that would dare step back and say that Africans are polytheistic people. A people who don't understand that would say that Africans worship many gods. Look at the person next to you and say, not so. Africans always understood there's only one God who has chosen to manifest him or herself in thousands of ways. My great-great-grandmother, according to my grandfather, used to say it this way: God is a many kind of things. All right. That's the best way to wrap it up, right? God is a many kind of things. This God that Africans understand talks to Africans. Wow. This God that Africans understand talks to Africans in their own language. Even if you're mute and can't talk, this God that I'm talking about speaks to you in your language. This God speaks to Africans and they hear her. They hear him. Even if they're deaf, Africans can hear the voice of God. What's really deep about it is the African who really knows God understands that this God is also represented in their image. You have absolutely no idea, black brothers and sisters, you have no idea the psychic trauma that takes place in a black man or woman when they look at a deity who doesn't look like them. Am I making sense to y'all? We all grew up looking at a deity that looked like the person who enslaved us. And without realizing it, we developed a respect and an honor, even to the point of exalting people who look like the image we grew up with. It's time for that to change. Repeat this after me. If you want to destroy a people, destroy their spirituality first. You see, everybody on this planet, now I'm getting ready to go somewhere with y'all, okay? And don't be offended by what I'm about to say, but everybody on this planet has spirituality, except Europeans. I'm going to prove it to you, if you'll accept my proof. Brother Ray, why are you saying that? So that you as an African will stop looking to the person who doesn't have spirit for spirituality. We still do it, y'all. They know. Listen, I remember my great-grandmother, Mother Alice Walker. She used to do domestic work for this family called the Dobbin family. I couldn't figure out for the life of me, this lady is cleaning y'all's house every day, but I wonder, do you really have her there to clean y'all's house or to keep you on the right path? Because every time Grandma would come home, she'd tell us how Mrs. Dobbins would sit in the kitchen with her for hours, getting advice and guidance on how to live. My grandmother didn't have an education, but Miss Dobbins had to sit and talk with her to find out how to live. Where would they be if it had not been for us? African people, especially here in the United States of America, have been trying to force religions that's not African on our own African minds. What have we done to ourselves? We've eaten a poison. We've ingested a virus that was given to us that has been strategically designed for our demise. What have we done to us? We keep on eating it. We keep on abiding by the very thing that enslaved us in the first place. Africans are starting to wake up. So guess what, y'all? They said, all right, what we'll do to hold on to these African minds is we will change the color of the image that we gave them in the first place. We'll change the color of that image and allow them to say he's black now. Why did they change the color in the first place? be accomplished by that. Since black folk are waking up, the Roman Catholic, and by the way, in case y'all didn't realize, y'all see a lot of Catholic churches are for sale here in St. Louis now. I'm serious, people, not only here in St. Louis, all over the country. Catholic churches are closing down. I wonder why. They colored him black for us. In fact, not only him, they made Peter black. Not only Jesus, they made Peter black, and Elijah and Ezekiel and Jeremiah. Going all the way back, Noah and all them, they got, in fact, how many of y'all ever seen the Black Heritage Bible? Anybody got one? Oh, I see some of y'all got some, okay. And they went and put the folk in there black. Same message, same text, same books, same everything, except they made the people in it black. And you know what that did for us? That made us put a smile on our face. Ha ha ha! All right now. They done changed the figures to black folk. With the same program. We need help. We've taken over our law. We got black folk now. Blows my mind, people, because in case you don't know this, the Mormon church was one of the greatest instruments in the enslavement of black people in this country. Now we got black Mormons riding up and down the street on their bicycles, 2 by 2, with their knapsacks on their back, trying to convert black folk. What have we done to ourselves? The key question that we should ask ourselves for our deliverance, for our liberation, to heal ourselves, we should ask ourselves this question: what were we doing spiritually before the Europeans came along, before the Arabs came along, before they came along with Hinduism, before they came along with Zoroastrianism? What were we Africans doing? Didn't we know God? Didn't God know us? The answer to that question is yes. Then what have we done to ourselves, and how do we get into this predicament? Pick up that paper I passed out. Let's look at it, break it down for you. Y'all see it? There are 3 circles there. The outer circle is called the body. The middle circle is called the soul. The inner circle is called spirit. Now I'm going to drop something on y'all. Melanated people, y'all know who I mean when I say melanated people? Got all 3 of those circles. Animals only got 2 of them. A dog has a body and a soul. Animals have a soul. But only the people of God have spirit. Now I know that I'm getting, listen, I gotta drop it on you. It's the only way we're gonna free ourselves, y'all. We are such a compassionate people. We are such a loving people. We are such a merciful people that we want our mercy and our compassion to do what God didn't do. We want our mercy and compassion to give people a spirit who don't have a spirit. Because that's the kind of people we are. But let's see it for what it really is. Let's examine these three parts. Body. That is that part of us that has what? Touch, sight, hearing, taste, and smell. Those are the five senses. In other words, it's in the body that we relate to the world around us. It's in our body that we relate to our environment. Am I making sense to you? It is because of this thing called body, brothers and sisters, where we have our appetites, where we're drawn to things because of touch, taste, smell, hearing, things we hear, all that kind of stuff. That's body. That really don't even really need much elaboration. Now let's deal with this next part. Soul. Oh my God, here we go. Soul is that part of us that has what? Intellect. What else? Will, and what else? Emotions. Now y'all have heard the song say, I got soul when I'm super bad. Okay, that's not what I'm talking about right now, even though that's part of it, okay? Here in the soul lies something called intellect, up here. The brain, the information that we receive and process. How much knowledge you acquire, that's intellect. That's in the soul. Y'all following me? There's another thing called will, or the volition element. And the element of volition or will, that's where you decide what you are and what you are not going to do. And that's usually based on what's in your mind, your intellect. And then there's another element there called emotions. And that's what gets altered based on what's in your intellect. That helps to decide what you will and what you will not do. Am I making sense to you? Having said that, let's see here, a dog. Does a dog have intellect? So we say instinct sometimes. But a dog got enough sense to know whether you're calling him. A dog can be trained to go fetch your slippers. Right? A dog can be, yeah, that's intellect. Okay? That's what that is. A dog can love. A dog can hate. A dog can come to you wagging their tail, or a dog can come to you and ready to tear you apart. That's the emotions, even in an animal. And the will is that which governs their behavior. Now, here's the other side. People who have soul only, here I go now, here I go. People who have soul and intellect and don't have spirit, guess what they have to do to get you to God? They have to design an intellectual approach to what they call God. Hence we have what is called religion. Hence we have what is called doctrine. Hence we have what is called denominationalism. It's not a spiritual thing with them because they are absent of spirit. The best thing that they can do is put it all in intellectualism. emotions, and will. And that's why you have to go through indoctrination classes when you join many churches. Some churches have what's called a statement of belief. That means that if you want to be a member of this church, this is what we believe over here.
All right. Come on.
And if you want to be a part of this, you must take on this belief system. Am I making sense, people? What have we done to ourselves? God did not design that to be the way of communication for the African. Y'all ain't hearing what I'm saying. God designed you, black man, black woman. God designed you to at any time, anywhere, whenever God gets ready, God can have an all-out conversation with you. You don't need a religious leader to tell you what God said. Brother, you getting ready to commit suicide. No, I'm getting ready to tell you the truth. What are you saying, Pastor Ray? That we don't need you to tell us what God said? No, you don't. You don't need me to tell you what God said. If you need me to tell you what God said, then you know what? You have put your own self in a state of dysfunction because God put a part of herself in you, and it's called spirit. Some people need a Bible verse or else they feel like I ain't preaching. So let me give you one. John, the 4th chapter, the 24th verse. It says it this way. God is a spirit. Actually, if you look closely at that text, I think I'm correct. The word is written italicized, which means it wasn't in the earlier writings. It was inserted by the translators. So actually, the best way to read it is without the italics. It simply says, God, a spirit. And they that what? Worship him. There's 3 words in that inner circle: intuition, communion, and conscience. The word communion is synonymous with the word worship. Those who would commune with the Almighty, they must do it where? What does the verse say? Those who are looking at it. They must do it where? In spirit and in truth. Now look at that verse carefully, brothers and sisters, and you'll see that spirit is in that verse 2 times. God is spirit, and it's spelled differently than the next word, spirit. Am I correct? The first spirit is a capital S, which means that element or attribute of Almighty God. God, spirit. God, a spirit, capital S. And those that would commune with him must commune with him in spirit, meaning the small s, meaning that part of you, brothers and sisters. Right. You see, here's how this goes. There's only one part of you that can communicate with God, and it's not soul.
Come on now.
Now let me tell you why I say that. Because we church folk, we've done something to ourselves. We think that because we get a lot of learning up here in the intellect, that enables us to communicate with God. That's the white man's way of thinking. That's why why he has institutions of learning, and you have to go to his institution and get his degrees. Because from his paradigm, that's what matters, intellect. From the African paradigm, what matters is intuition. From the paradigm of God, what matters is intuition, not intellect. I feel like I'm talking to this microphone. Y'all understand what I'm saying?
Come on, Doc.
Too many of us are bookworms. We got so much knowledge up here and just as void of spirituality as we can be. And that's because we have spent all this energy enhancing the soul, the intellect, and we have not spent enough energy enhancing our spirit or spirituality. If you want to communicate with God, you must communicate with God in spirit and in truth. Let me give you one more verse here. Hebrews, the 4th chapter, 12th verse. Let's see what we've done to ourselves. Hebrews 4 and 12. Y'all don't mind me using these verses, do you?
No, sir.
I want you to see in their book how they wrote the answer right there. They know the truth. We're the ones who don't. Hebrews 4 and 12. It says, for the word of God, for the what? One more time. For the what? Now I'm getting ready to drop something on you now. For the word of God. Before we read any further, never before we read another further. Look at the person nearest you and say, when this was written, the Bible didn't exist. Why did I say that? Because we've all been programmed to think that that phrase, Word of God, means the Bible. That's what we've been taught. No. When it says the Word of God here, it means for the word of truth. Is what? Quick, meaning alive. What else? And powerful, sharper than any what? Back in that day, the Excalibur two-edged sword was the sharpest instrument they had. Today, we would call it a scalpel, a surgeon's blade. Sharp enough to bring division. Dividing asunder of what?
Soul and spirit.
Dividing asunder of what?
Soul and spirit.
Uh-oh. Look at that circle again. Look at that circle. The word of truth. The level of communication between you and the Almighty is the only thing that can divide your soul from your spirit. Now, we as African people, we're in a bad shape. I'm going to tell you why we're in a bad shape. Because we've taken on what a people who don't have spirit gave us. Y'all hear me? In other words, God has endowed you, us as a people, with spirit. But we suppressed what we have. Y'all all right back there. We have suppressed what we have. We have suppressed what is natural to us. We have caused it to become latent, hidden, power lost. Because we have spent more time in soulical behavior than in spiritual reality. We spend too much time in that middle circle. And guess what, y'all? Even in our churches, we feel like we ain't having church unless emotions is at an all-time high. I used to sit in church. I'm so glad I've been delivered from it. I used to sit in church and see, you had to be acting like you needed a major dose of Ritalin, or else God wasn't using you. Growing up in church, follow what I'm saying, you might have seen what I'm saying too. Growing up in church, a woman, a female, could not just speak soft, because she really wasn't anointed of God, unless she had a howling voice. And then you got them walking around talking like this here, women are hard. What man wants to have a wife with a voice deeper than his? But see, that's symptomatic that God is using you. Person wasn't singing, man, when I grew up, unless the chandeliers were moving. Person couldn't stand flat-footed and just give and minister the word of truth so that it would take root in us. It had to be emotionalized. Am I making sense, y'all? And if y'all didn't move when the cheerleader said move, cheerleader will let you know anything dead ought to be buried. How can you just sit on God? I'm not sitting on God, I'm sitting on you. Y'all follow what I'm saying? People are reaching the point, brothers and sisters, in their experience where they don't want to go to a pep rally disguised as church. You know? How do you feel? How did you feel when you come out the wilderness? Man. There is the call of God upon every last one of you in this room. The call of God upon each of us, and those who are watching me on TV, and those who are listening to me now on the internet. The call of God upon Africans throughout the diaspora is to return, Sankofa, return back to who you are, African man, African woman, so that you can hear from God for yourself. Let's deal with these elements in spirit now. Intuition. Let me tell you how it works. Now, when I describe it, some of you who have even been indoctrinated, you're going to recognize what I'm talking about. It is in spirit. That is the part of us that the Almighty has reserved for him or herself. God says that this is the part of man, this is the part of my creation that nothing else can touch, because I've reserved it for my own use. When it comes to intuition, now follow how this goes. Intuition is that characteristic in you that as soon as you encounter something that ain't cool, that's not right, intuition is that element in you that as soon as you meet somebody who's not cool, who's not right, as soon as you hear something that is not right, your intuition stands up and says, But now here's how intuition works. Intuition doesn't holler too loud. Intuition is not going to say to you, no.
Right.
Intuition will speak, as we've been raised to hear, in that still, small voice. Intuition is that voice in you that says yay or nay. Now here's what has happened to us. This is what we do to ourselves. We go to war with intuition from our intellect. This is what we do to ourselves. You can't blame nobody for doing this to you. God spoke in your intuition and said, no, don't do that. But your intellect went to work and said, but.
Right.
Why not? If I do this, this will happen for me. Am I making sense, y'all? Can you relate to what I'm saying? Now, follow this. And I know you can't, look at the person next to you and say, you can't unscramble eggs. Okay? Don't forget that. But now look back in hindsight. Think back over your life. And think about all the times when God spoke in your intuition and said to you, don't. And your intellect said, but. And you ended up getting yourself in a situation of scrambled eggs that you can't unscramble. All because we didn't listen to our spirit. My grandmama used to call it her first mind. That's how she used to say all the time, you know, I should have listened to my first mind. See, as a child, that didn't make sense to me. I want to know how many you had. You know? But my first mind told me not to do that. In the black man and black woman, you know, just think for a moment. Have you ever heard a white person say, I should have listened to my first mind? They don't even talk like that. That doesn't even make sense to them. It's a black thing. It's an African, it's a spiritual thing. Right.
Yes, sir.
Then there's communion. Communion is that part of us, unlike emotions or will. Communion is that part of us where we have church without a Hammond organ.
That's right.
Communion is that part of us where we have church without a keyboard, without music.
Right.
Communion is that part of us where we have church without other folk around.
Yeah.
Oh, let me go here with y'all. Because I found out that most of us carry on the way we carry on at church because other folk are present. Really? Other people are present and we want them to see how much we've grown in God.
Right.
What about when you're home? In your quiet space, all to yourself. When folk are not around to praise you because you sang good, or because you prayed good, or because you preached good, or because you dressed good. Am I making sense, y'all? Do you have a relationship with God that when you're riding down the street in bumper-to-bumper traffic, you can have an awesome time with God, just you and God by yourself, nobody else around. You don't know God until that happens.
Come on now.
That's communion. Communion in this circle ain't got nothing to do with some little tiny cup.
Come on now.
And Welch's grape juice.
Yes, sir.
That's not what I mean by communion here. By communion in this circle, I mean that ability that you have to communicate with God. And sometimes, y'all, to be honest with you, you can't really do that until you get by yourself. Because everything else around you is a distraction. Look at the person nearest you and say, learn to appreciate your space. Some people don't get their space too often. And when you get a chance to get it, spend it in quality time. There's another characteristic of spirit. And that characteristic is called conscience. Oh, shucks now. Now, what is conscience? Now, allow me to describe it to you in Ray Hagins' definition. Conscience is that character trait in you that beats you all upside your head when you do those things that you should not do. Conscience is that character trait in you that when you mistreat people, you are not at peace on the inside. See, that's why I said I know some folk who don't have spirit. As a child, as a young child, before I became conscious, I couldn't understand how in the world a black man or woman could be hanging from a tree. And the stench of their body is coming through the windows, the open windows of that little country church, where they'd be in there singing, what a friend we have in Jesus. As a child, I used to say, how could their conscience allow them to engage in such behavior and sleep at night? But I understand it now. Conscience is in the spirit. A dog will bite you and never feel bad about it. Because a dog doesn't have spirit. A horse will trample you and never feel bad about it. Because a horse doesn't have spirit. Y'all feeling this thing? A lion will tear your arm off and never feel bad about it, because a lion does not have spirit. The devil will rape you, gut cut you, castrate you, lynch you. Oh, come on, y'all. And never feel bad about it, because the devil don't have spirit. Well, what are you saying, Brother Ray? I'm saying that not everybody has this inner circle. They have to write down a list of do's and don'ts, and their intellect tells them that they violated one of the laws. There's nothing inside them to say, you shouldn't ought to have done that.
That's right.
Conscience. We have conscience, but guess what? I got to...
Make it plain, Doc. Make it plain.
What have we done to ourselves? Let me read it to you. Believe it or not, it's right here in the biblical text. Turn to Romans. Let me show you what we have done to ourselves. We've gotten away from the right way of doing things. We've taken on the white way of doing things, and now we're in trouble. Romans, the 1st chapter, the 21st verse. Follow this now. I want you to see what we've done to ourselves. Romans 1:21. If you have it, say Ashe. It says, because that when they knew God, they glorified him not as God, neither were thankful, but became vain in their imaginations, and their foolish heart was darkened. This is what happens when you take on another way of life. 22nd verse. Professing themselves to be wise. What element would that be? Intellect. Right? Professing themselves to be wise, they became fools and changed the glory of the uncorruptible God into an image made like to corruptible man. Oh, shucks. Took the glory of God and put it in the image of a man. And to birds and four-footed beasts and creeping things. 24th verse. Wherefore, or for this reason, God also gave them up to uncleanliness through the lust of their own hearts, to dishonor their own bodies between themselves. What have we done to ourselves? As a result of taking on this solical way of life and turning a deaf ear to the spirit in us when God would speak to us, God has allowed us as black African people to end up in a predicament that the only way we're going to get out of it is realize that we've done the wrong thing. 25th verse, we've changed the truth of God into a lie. Good Lord, have mercy. What else? Worship and serve the creature more than the creator. 26th verse, for this cause God gave them up to vile affections. In other words, it's not that God said, I'm taking my hand off you. It's not that at all. What is happening here is when you refuse to hear your spirit in you. That's what you've done to yourself. You gotten to the point to where your conscience, I think it goes on to say that there, God gave them up to what? Vile affections. For even their women did change the natural use into that which is against nature. We call it lesbianism. Let me just keep it real here. 27th verse. And likewise also the men, leaving the natural use of the woman, burned in their lust toward one another. That's called homosexuality. I don't mean to slap you, I mean to knock you out. And receiving in themselves that recompense of their error, which was meet, or which they deserved, in other words. The diseases that's going on, the terminal illnesses that's going on. 28th verse, even as they did not like to retain God in their knowledge, God gave them over to a reprobate mind to do those things which ain't even seemly or convenient for them. Y'all see the drift here? Because we have taken on the way of a people who don't have spirit. That means we have ignored the work of the Spirit in us. Africans did not have this thing called, I'm a Methodist. Africans did not have this thing called, I'm a Christian. Africans didn't have this thing called I'm a Muslim. Africans did not have this thing called I'm Pentecostal. Africans definitely didn't walk around saying I'm a Baptist. All that came from a people who don't have spirit to divide African people. Is this making sense, y'all? As a result, see, this is where I know, this is how I know God loves us. Y'all know how many times we done messed up? And we keep messing up, and we keep messing up, we keep messing up. We keep committing spiritual fornication, spiritual adultery. We keep messing around with somebody who ain't even married to us. Spiritually. God is married to us. Good God Almighty. God took us to be His bride because God made us in His image. Am I making sense, people? But see, we ain't satisfied with that. Somebody comes along with a song that sounds a little bit better, that seemingly makes more sense, intellect. And we go running after it because it sounds good hearing. We better learn how to hear the voice of God within us. I plead with you in my close, brothers and sisters. Please ask the God of your imagination. Notice how I said that? I'm going to keep saying it until it really locks into you. Ask the God of your imagination to help bring you back to where you ought to be in your relationship with God. Not in your relationship with the programming that you have received all your life. In your relationship with God, the Creator, the Almighty. Start spending time with God and listening. Stop running your mouth so much. You see what happens is when we pray, we think that's supposed to be a time for us to talk. How about you be still and let God talk to you? How about that? How about just quieting yourself so you can get some direction from the Almighty? I guarantee you, your home will be better. Your relationship will be better between you and your lady or you and your man. I guarantee all of that will improve. Your finances will get better because your spirit will start speaking in you saying, don't waste your money on that. You don't need to spend your money on that. A lot of things that you really think that you need, your spirit will start saying, you don't need that. You'll stop living above your means. You'll start putting better stuff in your body. Some of y'all right now, I know, and I'm guilty of it too, and not just you. Sometimes when you put something in your mouth that you know your body don't need, your spirit says, you don't need to be eating this. See, I told you, see? Your spirit speaks to you and says, you don't need to be putting this in your body. And you know what happens? Intellect kicks in and says, but it sure tastes good. That's the body and the intellect, ain't it? Hog maws, neck bone, short ribs. All right, I'm going to leave you alone. I saw the look on some of y'all's face. All right now. Pork chops. Smothered pork chops. Bacon. Gotta have you a piece of bacon. Crackling bread. Oh yeah. Well, brothers and sisters, It's time for us to heal ourselves. In the simplest way I can say it, your spirit is not dead. That's what the oppressor wants you to think. And you know what they told you? They told you that you were dead in trespasses and sins. That's what they told you. They taught me that, and I taught my people that, our people that we were dead in trespasses and sins. We ain't dead in trespasses and sins. We're asleep. That's what we are. And it's time for us to wake up. So please, learn to start listening to your spirit. And I guarantee you that when you do that, you'll see a change in your life. Stop hurting yourself spiritually. Ain't nobody doing that to us but us. Y'all hear what I'm saying? Ashe.